The first two Toy Story movies were one of the first films I ever saw when I was a kid. The first movie had been regarded as one of the greatest feats in animation for its time, and kids also loved it, including me. I found the movie thrilling, funny, and quite intelligent for a kids' film. The second movie I liked as much as the first movie. It was original as the original film. It was exciting and hilarious as well. The first two Toy Story films were some of my favourite films when I was a kid, and so when I heard that there was going to be a Toy Story 3 11 years after watching the second film, I didn't know whether to be surprised or if I should have expected it. I don't know why I didn't see Toy Story 3 in the cinemas. Probably because I was hesitant about whether I would like it or not, and also because I had no one really to see it with. A year later, it has a 99% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and everyone I asked who saw it said that it was a good movie, and that, being the fact that I had watched the first two movies when I was a kid, was surprised that I hadn't seen it. So yeah, a couple of days ago I decided to watch the movie. So basically the movie follows Andy. He's now 17 and he's going off to college. Meanwhile, the toys that we all remember so well from the first two movies are sitting in a toy box for years and only come out when Andy isn't around. They're discussing what's going to happen when Andy goes off to college, where they're going to go and what's going to happen to them, and whether Andy will be seeing them again. Most of the toys are voiced by the same people: Woody by Tom Hanks, Buzz by Tim Allen, Jessie by Joan Cusack, etc. As far as I can remember, they all have the same personalities: Woody, the reassuring leader; Buzz, the strategic coach; Mr. Potato Head, the practical pessimist; and Rex, the nervous dinosaur. It's just really good to see all the characters on the screen again. So anyway, Andy's mum has to clean up. Andy plans to put the toys in the attic, but instead his mum accidentally takes them out to the trash. The toys get saved from going in the dumpster, but instead wind up at a children's daycare, where they argue about whether they should stay or not. I really like how the plot moves, the characters' reactions to things, and how they agree and disagree on different matters. Every character still has a distinct personality. I especially like Ham, the comedian of the group.
Wait, where's Buzz?
He thinks he's a real space ranger again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Return of the Astronaut.
For a movie about toys, it surprisingly takes itself quite seriously, but in a good way. It's the kind of plot that you can get involved with but laugh at the same time. One of my favourite scenes is the Mr. Potato Head tortilla scene. I really find the ways that the characters try and get what they want and interact very creative but still relating to real life. The new characters were easy to get to know and have good backstories. You would think that introducing many new toys, when we really have only been following the main characters for two movies, would make the series feel unusually crowded and intimidating, especially as the main cast was unnaturally large in the first place for a children's film. But it really doesn't, and each character we feel we know from when we first see them. They have a good way of getting about it, and they do it by showing that the main characters feel intimidated at first as well. Toy Story 3 seems like it would appeal to kids. I don't see why not. The film has some small dark moments, but from experience of watching somewhat dark or scary movies of children when I was little, it is harmless, and the parts that aren't so dark make up for it. If you've ever seen a Don Bluth film, then Toy Story 3 is a tame compared to them. The scenes are colourful, identifiable for kids, and has a simple enough plot that it can be followed by children, but also complex elements that adults and teenagers will find enjoyable too. It is hard to tell that the animation has been improved in the movie, and this isn't a bad thing, as it makes it feel like the original movies. After viewing clips from the first two movies afterwards, then it seems that it has improved. Improved enough that it makes the movie really great on the eyes and stays up to par with modern 3D animation, but similar enough to the original films that it doesn't look different and doesn't try to overshadow the original films with the greater animation technology of today. I didn't really pay too much attention to the soundtrack, but I know it fits the movie well, the Toy Story series well, and I know that I recognise some of the tracks reused from the first movies. I can't say that the soundtrack is memorable, but I can't say it's bad at all. It isn't a movie you watch for the soundtrack, but there's nothing wrong with it, and it goes along with the film nicely. The movie definitely follows the original Toy Story films well. It feels like a Toy Story movie, it acts like a Toy Story movie. Seeing this, it won't make you feel like it's one of those sequels you'd rather ignore, but instead a sequel that brings back memories and contains a worthy conclusion to a great series. If you've seen the first two Toy Story movies and like them, then see Toy Story 3. It won't disappoint you. The film contains many throwbacks to the original films. I didn't realise that the opening scene of the film was actually a 3D interpretation of the opening scenes of the first two movies until somebody told me after the films, and when thinking about it, it's really interesting. I like seeing Buster as an old dog when Woody calls him as well. The movie is especially good for me as I identify with Andy. When I was in the early childhood watching the first films, I remember playing with toys, or at least I could identify with Andy's character of being a child with child personalities and problems. And now 10 years later, I can identify with Andy's character as someone deciding what they should do with their adult life and what to do about my old child's life. I can't say that my life is exactly like Andy's, but in terms of age group, we are pretty similar in age then and pretty similar in age now. And so I think that this is one of the benefits I have about watching this film and other people my age. I like Toy Story 3, I'm sure most people did when this was released last year, and I'm sure that new generations will come to watch and enjoy all 3 Toy Story films. Most of the time, the third of the series either gets it wrong or just doesn't get it right enough to live up to the rest of the series. This is not the case with this movie, and some could argue that it's better than the first 2 films. I'm not going to say any of the sort. I'm going to say that Toy Story is probably the best in innovation and story animated series of all time, and some have even said it is the best movie series all time, period. I recommend Toy Story 3 for absolutely anyone. I can't see many people not enjoying this film. If you like the first 2 Toy Story films or animation, then Toy Story 3 is a must-see. You will not be disappointed. 5 out of 5 stars.